I am making supper. My family's on their way home. I'm just going to feed my starter because I want to bake in the morning. And since I just happen to be standing here alone in the house, I figured I would do a quick live and talk a little bit about starters. So I have an established starter. Her name is Mama. She was fed yesterday morning. So she has actually risen and fallen. So you can see that she's quite low. I keep my starter in a sealed jar with a tight-fitting lid. There's lots of talk about what kind of jar should we have. Some people keep their lid loose. Some people put cheesecloth on top. I know that fruit flies are attracted to fermentation, and I don't want fruit flies in the house. So that's one reason to seal my starter. But then the other reason to keep our starter sealed is the only bacteria that we need in our starter is the water and flour going through the fermentation process. So I personally recommend that you keep a tight-fitting lid on your starter. I also recommend that you use a nice big jar so that it never overflows. So my starter is on a 1:1:1 feeding ratio, and I use a 60-gram base. So every day I discard in one way or another all the way back down to 60 grams. And then I add 60 grams of flour and 60 grams of water. So as I said, I'm planning on baking tomorrow morning when I get up. I'm an early riser, probably be about 5 a.m. When I get up. So that's going to work out to about 12 hours from now. If I feed my starter right now, within 4 to 6 hours, it will double. And then it'll sort of go past double all the way up close to the top of my jar, and then it'll start to fall. By morning, it's hard to say where it'll be, but it'll probably still look pretty close to double. This starter's been a full 24 hours since it's been fed, maybe even a little more. So I'll show you how it looks. Nice and bubbly, but as you can see, it's quite liquid. So that's an after peak starter. I personally would still bake with this if I really wanted to bake, but the best time to bake with your starter is at peak. So I don't have anything to bake right now, so I'm going to discard into my discard jar. And I just keep this jar stored in my fridge, and I try to go through it every 10 days with recipes. So today I made some brown butter chocolate chip cookies. I made some pie crust. I'll probably make some banana bread soon. I'll try and finish this jar within a week or so, and then I'll clean it and then just start using it again as a discard jar. So my base ratio is 60 grams. I fed 60 grams of flour, 60 grams of water. So I'm going to discard 120 grams, leave 60 in, feed it 60, and 60 of flour and water. So the first thing I'm going to do is just tare my scale to 0 with the discard jar on. And I'm just going to pour off until I get to 120 grams. So because I keep this jar sealed all the time, and every time I feed it, I always use a clean knife, I don't change my jar all the time. Maybe every 6 weeks or 2 months, the crustiness on the side of the jar starts to bother me, and I'll just pour this into a fresh jar and clean the old one. But honestly, I think all of the stuff that's in there, all of this buildup, is contributing to that nice fermentation. So I'm just going to scrape off the edges. And now all I'm going to do is just tare my scale back to 0. And I'm going to add 60 grams of flour. And then I'm going to add 60 grams of water. I'm going to stir it up. And I don't know if you can hear the fan in the background, but I have a little tiny apartment size oven. Apparently when this house was renovated, it was COVID and it was almost impossible to get any sort of appliance whatsoever. And so this house ended up with a smaller size oven. And it vents itself out the top. I'll show you. So you can see those vents there. So I actually just store my starter right next to the oven. And throughout the day, as I'm cooking or baking or whatever it is, like right now I've got potatoes and carrots boiling, the heat from my stove is going to help my starter along. My house is about 72 degrees Fahrenheit all the time. We've got a decent furnace. We've got good insulation in the house. So there you go. So all I've done now is just fed my starter, scrape down the sides as much as I can. I'm gonna pop my sealed lid back on. And like I said, I'm just gonna set it there beside the stove. Let's see. I just leave it sitting there. And the heat from the oven venting and the heat from the potatoes and carrots cooking help it to grow. So I just thought I would do a quick live just to go over this. So a lot of the questions that we see about starters are what feed ratio should I do? 1 to 1 to 1 is simple, easy, but if it's not working for you, if your starter is getting a lot of hooch on top, which is that gray liquid, or if it seems to be a little bit lazy, a 1 to 5 to 5 ratio works good. So that, for example, would be 20 grams of starter to 100 grams each of flour and water, or 10 grams of starter to 50 grams each of flour and water, depending what you need. I like my 60 gram 1 to 1 to 1 ratio because it means I have to discard 120 grams. And the beginner bread recipe that's posted on the sister page it calls for 120 grams of starter. So if I'm going to bake, I don't have to put anything into my discard jar. I can just take right out of my starter into my recipe and then refeed my starter. I'm just using regular all-purpose flour. If my starter starts to get lazy, or if it's been in the fridge for a week and I haven't used it, then sometimes what I'll do is I'll do, say, 20 grams of rye flour and 40 grams of all-purpose flour. There's all sorts of different things that you can do. I'm going to post in the comments of this live a link to the Sourdough for Beginners page, which is the sister to the group. We created the page so that we could put tutorials on the page and not have them get lost in all of the posts that happen in the group. And I'm also going to post a link to our starter tutorial. I'll probably also at some point upload this video to YouTube, and then same thing, I'll post the links to the Sourdough for Beginners group page and the written tutorial for starters in the comments. If you've got any questions, let me know. I'm happy to help. I'm loving this group. It's growing like crazy, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.